Welcome back to a best of 5 series of top level StarCraft 2. What I've got for you today is a Zerg versus Protoss, where in game number 1 we find ourselves on the map Amphion. Spawning right here in the top left hand corner, playing with the beautiful green Zerg pieces. We're looking at none other than Solar's main hatchery. Solar, of course, from South Korea. His opponent from Germany, the highest ranked player actually from Germany right now, playing with the blue Protoss probes. Of course, we're looking at ShoWTimE's main Nexus. I would imagine that this is going to be a more macro-focused series. Of course, I haven't seen it yet, but these two, in general, when I think of their Protoss versus Zerg playstyles in particular, they like to play SimCity, right? They may very well accidentally have installed the wrong game, because they like building up a bunch of stuff, and they like building another residential district, maybe some industry on the site, a commercial zone, maybe build a hospital somewhere in the middle of the... You know what I mean? They both like to sit back and then make a bunch of stuff and then eventually overwhelm each other. Now, I've got a feeling this could be a very long series. Neither of them really is a player that enjoys going for sharp timing attacks, although obviously they also know that from the opponent. Just because it isn't their go-to playstyle doesn't mean that we aren't going to see it, so we'll have to keep an eye out on exactly what the build orders are going to be like. But if I were to make a guess, we're going to see Solar trying to go up towards a bunch of lurkers, and we're going to see ShoWTimE trying to, well, build a bunch of economy and probably focus on a more ground-based TOS style. I haven't really seen him play a ton of SkyTOS as of late, although that works, like, I feel like SkyTOS works really well for Protoss, especially when the game is flowing for them, right? And you can make that transition and actually spend the couple of minutes that it takes to get to that point. When you're being messed with a bunch, it's quite difficult to actually make that call. So we'll have to keep an eye out on exactly what ShoWTimE decides to do in this particular game as well. Alrighty, so it's going to be a hedge gas pool right here for Solar. Nothing all too surprising. In the meantime, we've gone for a gateway. Gas is in the main base. Cybercore, together with a Nexus on the low ground too. And this should be a good old Stargate opener right here for ShoWTimE. I'm expecting it right over here. ShoWTimE, right? Oh, come on. That was unnecessary, okay? Almost a little rude, I would say. Anyways. It's going to be a single Adept here for the time being. I'll probably follow this up with one more. Yep. In the meantime, the third hatchery is going to be planted down before that Adept will really get across the map, which is, of course, the timing that Zerg is aiming for. Zergling speed will finish up in time for the second Adept to be really annoying. There is a tiny little window where ShoWTimE could get a bit of damage done, but you would have to dive really deep with the first shades, and usually that's not really what you want to do, because the problem is if you don't have the Adepts, it's difficult to take the third Nexus. So this is very much so a dance where ShoWTimE is like, I'm gonna go into your base. But at the same time, I don't want to go into your base unless I get significant value. Because if I go into your base and I lose the Adepts, I can't take my third. Just a little mind game that the players like to play. A little mini game within the mini game within the mini game. Solar trying to play the creep spread mini game. He's also microing his gas. Another one of a Zerg player's favorite mini games. So we have a very early Spore. That Spore is actually, that Spore is like a good 15 seconds early. Not exactly sure what he expected here from ShoWTimE. Normally you wouldn't have to start it up until right about right now. I guess this map has a reasonably fast rush distance, but most of the time you can cover it by going for a second queen in the main base, and that's exactly where she is. Alright. Anyways, at the very least, he's not going to be taking damage here from the very first Oracle. Oracle is swooping around the third base right now, maybe thinking about moving into the main. General timing for a Spore Crawler, in case you're wondering. About 3.5 minutes into the game to 350 or so. It depends on the queen production. If you're not sure, 3.5 minute Spores in every mineral line against Protoss is fine. At this level, you wouldn't really see that all too much. 2 snipes is not bad. Because, of course, you, well, have a lot of other things to build as well as Zerg. And any Spore Crawler does cost you a bit. But, yeah, losing drones like that, also not for free. Couple of Zerglings trying to be annoying in the meantime on the other side of the map. Bit of mispositioning here from ShoWTimE. Obviously, these Lynx are not going to be able to kill the Nexus, but it's still going to put on a bit of pressure. He's going to try and see if he can get the snipe on the pylon instead. This Adepto is nicely tucked in between the mineral fields and will have an easy time surviving for now. Alright, this will be when both of the players are starting up their mid-game transition. We've got +1. Ooh, +1 together with charge. +1 with charge is nice because it allows the Zealots to kill the Zerglings with 2 attacks rather than with 3. Luckily here for a Protoss player, there's no armor upgrades coming up here for Solar. Instead, he's decided to go for the quick +1 melee. This is really good against Stalker builds in particular, but that's not what ShoWTimE is going for. Now, luckily, he's not skipping out on the Roach Warren. Some of these builds for the Zerg, they, well, skip the Roach Warren, especially when you go +1 melee. Sometimes in favor of like a faster Hydralisk Den or something along those lines. That could be absolutely disastrous. Could be absolutely disastrous against the Zealot charge all-in, but it's probably going to be Archons as well. Archon Zealot, really, really good against Mass Zergling. It doesn't really get much better than that. Roaches are going to be an absolute necessity. At this point, Solar doesn't really know exactly what he's playing against. He may assume that it's Blink. +1 melee, though, still a powerful tool regardless. Okay. Alright. We're going to do Archon drops. Really? I haven't really seen Archon drops in a while. Normally, this is an opener, rather than like a mid-game bit of pressure. But I quite like it, actually. I've always been a fan of Archon drops. It's just really unpopular right now. Yeah, normally, so at least historically, they would hit a couple minutes earlier than this. Roaches are coming. They still do quite a bit of damage, though. One Zealot. That Zealot is apparently really part of the battle. At least that's what he's been told. I feel like that Zealot is actually worse because now it's spoiled the charge surprise. Although I guess we have a couple of those guys tiptoeing around on the creep already. Missile will be coming up here in the meantime instead. +1 melee, though, has finished up. 4th base is done, and they're going to be the gases here for Solar. So he'll probably be rushing up towards the hive here, indeed, together with lurkers. Main bottleneck for Zerg at that point in the game is that lurker production, and, well, you need a lot of gas. That's why we're prioritizing the gas over here. But this is still a decent opportunity for Solar, or for ShoWTimE rather, to be attacking with, because there's not a ton of Zerg available at this point in time. This is an awful lot of Zealots. We have 8 gateways here, together with a bunch of Archons. A very old school attack. We don't usually see this build anymore, but I quite like it. Zealots are obviously not free, contrary to popular Zerg belief. These Zealot pushes are not quite free. And they do tend to fall off the longer that this goes on. I mean, as soon as lurkers hit the battlefield, obviously the Zealots are not going to achieve anything anymore. But look at them going right now. +1 melee, +1 ground weapons is done for ShoWTimE. And those Zealots, they deal substantially more damage. In the meantime, we have reinforcing Zealots being used on the hatch. He's going to get the kill. Now, there's no way he's going to be able to win the game with this army right here, right now. I don't believe that. So we'll have to see a transition. And interestingly enough, it's not into a 4th base. He's got 3 different options for it. Instead, what he's decided to do is go double robo production and then also into a Phoenix again. So this is a follow-up attack from ShoWTimE. It's like a multi-layered push. He is still gonna go. Oh, okay. He is still gonna go for the Nexus. But the only reason to be building Phoenixes right now is if you feel like you can lift off the lurkers and shove forward with the Immortal Ball. So we're gonna go for a lot of Immortals. Immortals are... It's a delicate dance, right? When you're fighting lurkers with Immortals, if there's too many lurkers, the Immortals get killed. But if there's not enough lurkers, the Immortals actually absolutely destroy them. So the tipping point is always difficult to decide, but I don't disagree right here with ShoWTimE. It's just a bit of a ballsy play. Normally he's somebody who is quite conservative with these sort of decisions, but he's thinking, yo, no, I actually just have enough stuff. It's gonna still be a couple of minutes until those lurkers are fully upgraded. I have an opportunity to win the game right here, right now. Good set of force fields to start this off. Gets a couple of those roaches. Archons pop the force fields again, which may be a little bit annoying, but this concave here is amazing. And while lurkers are coming up right now, they're completely unupgraded. ShoWTimE demolishes Solar in game number 1. Game number 2. We find ourselves on Alcyone. Lovely game right there from ShoWTimE. I like the confidence with that follow-up attack in particular. It must have been really tempting to put down the second Stargate and go into the fleet beacon and try to slowly tech up towards Skytools and build the 4th Nexus and some static defense. But ShoWTimE said, nope. It's not what we're gonna do, buddy. I've done a bunch of damage to you, I've killed your base, I know you're not gonna have enough gas. So therefore your lurker count is gonna be entirely unimpressive. And if that's the case, don't mind if I just, well, push with a whole lot of Immortals instead. I like the double Immortal follow-up there a lot. Alrighty. Stargate opener here once again for ShoWTimE. Going around the map with the Adept, trying to see if there's any sneaky Zerglings, trying to take the long road around. Sometimes happens here on Alcyone where Zerglings are going to be moving just like that. Sometimes that can be quite annoying, and we're actually going to see a Stalker as the second gateway unit. I find Stalker as a second gateway unit a little funky. Not very common. Normally it's Adept into Adept. Adepts are much better when it comes to securing the base, but this is going to deny scouting. The thing is, what ShoWTimE is hiding inside of the main base is the most stock standard build ever. He's like hiding his 9-to-5 office job right now, you know? Like he's trying his very best to pretend like he's got something really special going on and that he's the only one doing this sort of thing, but nah. Oh, he may actually just be showing it right now too. Alright. We're gonna use that for high ground vision. And that means that Otto the Overlord is gonna be dead. Dead Otto. That's what we... yeah, are gonna have to call him now. A little sad. But the balloon has been popped. Third Nexus coming up. And in the meantime, everything here is quite normal as well for Solar. So Solar going for the +1 melee upgrade. It's not a very popular play anymore these days. We don't actually see a ton of +1 melee. Ooh, okay. ShoWTimE once more showing us a little bit of variety. You love to see it. Curious to see, when I was trying to get it, if... I don't think we're going to see that again. I think it's probably going to be a Lair, Roach Warren, Evo Chamber, and then we'll probably see +1 missile instead. So Glaive the Depth, though, is an interesting play. Again, something that demolishes Zergling openers. Luckily for Solar, once again, he's got himself a nice little Roach Warren here. But it is something that is, yeah, certainly a skill check. Now, that's quite a few Adepts to find. Not an uncommon amount of Adepts. It's not like seeing this many, like 6 Adepts immediately means that it's going to be a Glaive Adept push. I think 10 Adepts is quite obviously a Glaive Adept push. But let's see. He doesn't have a ton of units available. He did have the Watchtower taken there. So Solar knows what he's playing against. Roach Warren is done. It just finished up, but he actually doesn't have a ton of them coming up. Okay, we're going to be walling ourselves in fully. The Serral defense. This is what Serral loves to do. But honestly, these Adepts need to be respected. Queens don't deal a lot of damage to them. Already a ton of lost mining time. Okay. Shading around. At this point, Roaches will be available. He just opened the door a little bit. Much like Protoss, Zerg technology has never figured out how to do doors. Only the Terran race. Yeah, only the Terran race knows how to do a door. Like a little home for the Terran units. Nah, at this point the Adepts are done. So what do we do with the Adepts now? Normally what we see from Protoss is this moment where they sort of throw away the Adepts. Like at some point the age of the Adept is over, because these units usually just get destroyed later on into the game. What do we do with them now, ShoWTimE? Well, apparently what we're doing... okay. Are we gonna double down into an all-in? Is this gonna be a Stalker Adept all-in? We don't have any Immortal production, no. We're actually just gonna... yeah, we're just gonna double down. ShoWTimE is looking at this and apparently is entirely unimpressed. It will indeed be Roach Hydra here for Solar. Solar trying to stay alive. His economy is pretty good. This game has not been going poorly for him. So far, it's actually a flawless game here for ShoWTimE. He hasn't lost any unit yet, as he's starting to deal some damage here on the opponent's creep. Queens have already used up a lot of their transfusion energy. ShoWTimE is just pointing his guns to whatever he wants to die. Well, ShoWTimE is demolishing Solar here as well. Roaches are coming. But ShoWTimE is going to start up the reinforcements here too. Those queens are looking mighty vulnerable right now. There's nothing buffering for them anymore. And with the queens going down, it's going to take ages for Solar to recover. So ShoWTimE going home right now would not even be a terrible choice, but I've got a feeling he's got the fighting spirit in him today. GG. ShoWTimE making it look easy against one of the world's greatest Zergs. Solar just not really achieving a whole lot so far. Game number 3. We find ourselves on Oceanborn. Now, I think I'm going to do a little magic trick. I'm going to be fast-forwarding to the 2-minute mark. Got ourselves a low-ground pylon here. Nexus coming up. 20 supply Nexus, 20 supply Cybercore. We should see a Stargate opener, which is exactly what it is. And we're back down to a regular game speed. Okay, so where exactly did that go wrong for Solar? Honestly, even though he knew what was coming, roughly, he wasn't prepared for that attack at all. So for Zerg, it's always a balancing act, right? How many drones can you get away with before you have to start making army? And sometimes the difference is like literally -2 drones. If you would have started making the units a little bit quicker, you would have cut 2 drones a little bit earlier, you would have ended up with the correct amount of army. And it can be quite delicate for Zerg to figure that sort of thing out. Obviously, you're always dealing with incomplete information, but it's very uncommon for Protoss to go Glaive to Depth into Blink Stalkers. Because that is, I mean, it's as far as like aggression goes, right? We see that follow up all the time in a macro game. But to go from like a big Glaive to Depth push into a big Blink Stalker Adept push is a little bit funky. Not usually the way that it's done. I've criticized ShoWTimE in the past a few times for maybe lacking a little bit of killer instinct. Really just trying to keep everything very safe, right? Where he's just really trying to make sure that everything is safe and he's going into the 100% certainty build if he actually plays perfectly. And that's sometimes where things can backfire, right? Like if you are very far ahead, sometimes, right? You just have to go out and go f***ing kill him, right? When you're ahead, get more ahead, sure. But sometimes you just have to go f***ing kill him, right? Let's be real here for a second. I think that's something that is sometimes forgotten in the StarCraft world, where we're trying to play these gentlemen's games. Which is why sometimes watching some of the Koreans in particular, like for example Dark, it's so refreshing. Dark does not care about getting more ahead. He is caring about winning. And whatever is going to be giving him the best route, the fastest route to winning, that's what he will do. Now, you will have those ugly losses every once in a while where you accidentally throw a game where you are far ahead. But, I mean, if you do that often enough, at some point, you will learn what those moments are going to be. Anyways, triple Oracle. 3 of those drones. Yeah, it's decent. A little bit of damage taken, though, on one of the Oracles. Not a bad start. Adept going in. This is once again a bit of variety, by the way, from ShoWTimE. And once more, oh, we're gonna go into charge. So just like game number 1, he's going straight into charge. Okay. ShoWTimE maybe studying some of those hero games. This reminds me a lot of the style that Hero was playing at the EWC. Just this very confident style. Not really too worried about dealing a ton of damage early on, but instead just, yeah, taking small victories and running with the lead. So once again, charge together with +1. Once again, +1 melee here for Solar. We saw this horribly going wrong for the Zerg player earlier. Then it was a double Immortal follow-up. Right now we only have a single Robo facility, but it would be very quick for our second one already. Extra gateways coming up. +1. We don't have a... No, we do have a Templar Archives coming too. Yeah, this is why StarCraft is such a nice game, though. I feel like if you give ShoWTimE only the very easy AI to practice against, right? Or maybe the insane AI. He would never have been playing strategies like this, but I think he's been looking at some of the games from the very highest ranked players on the planet, and he's been looking at exactly what they're doing, and he's, ooh, taking that as inspiration. Switching up his playstyle a bit. So, a Spire build here from Solar. You guys know my feelings about Muta builds, so this actually gets scouted immediately. I think Mutas can be really good, but it oftentimes relies on the opponent making a mistake. Did he see that one too? Oh, perfect scouting here by ShoWTimE. He saw the Spire and he sees the Infestation Pit. So that's a big indicator that this will likely only be one wave of Mutalisks and then straight into Hive. There's mass Mutas, and then there are, well, just singular groups of Mutas, and then a bit of a different follow-up. Really nicely done here by ShoWTimE so far. ShoWTimE actually just straight up outplaying Solar in the series so far. Overseer is gonna check out what's going on. Problem is, what's going on here is not really something you can do anything about. There's already Phoenix production. Spire actually has disappeared. Instead, we're gonna go into a Hive together with a Hydra then. Solar trying to once more just accept the fact that he needs to go Lurkers. I think ShoWTimE has realized at this point that his opponent no longer has the Spire. Well, now he's got confirmation of it. And that means he doesn't have to worry about any Muta transitions anymore. He doesn't really need to worry about any sort of Phoenix production anymore. So he only made a single one. This is his entire response. Fourth Nexus. It's going to be saturated. Now, where do we take this game from here, though? Because this is not a situation where ShoWTimE can just push and win. Not like the previous games. I don't think so anyways. There is once again a vulnerable moment, though, where Solar doesn't yet have the Lurkers out, and he's made all of the investments that he needs for those Lurkers to actually be good. He grabs two queens. One of them managed to tiptoe away. She's gonna poop on the creep once again. That's what she likes to do. Don't judge. That's what she likes to do. Storm coming up. +1 air weapons coming up. Okay. So, ShoWTimE is feeling really comfortable, but not in a situation where he wants to go double Robo and mass Immortal, just like in game number 1 again. Very flexible Protoss style so far. Storm will be joining the battlefield momentarily. And here come the Lurkers, though. So the Lurkers are really good when both of their upgrades are done. This takes several minutes. So I think for now, we'll probably just see the Lurkers being used defensively. A couple Lurkers over here, a couple Lurkers down south. Deal with those Zealot run-bys. Or you can just kill the Zealot run-bys. With the Zerglings. That also works. Ooh, okay. We're gonna go for Lurker drops. Let's see then. There's one Lurker here at the front. That's not really a whole lot. Some might even say that 1 is the loneliest number. But what about this? Pneumatized Carapace is done. Seismic Spines is going to be finished when these units arrive in the natural expansion. And this could be the strike back that Solar has been looking for. I feel like Solar hasn't had anything going for him in the series so far. Okay. Now, it is a scary amount of Lurkers, yes. But the Protoss army can actually deal with this just fine. He just needs to get into the position, maybe land some storms, and he should be okay. He's gonna commit right now. Storm! There it is. Ooh. Alright. Storm, of course, does deal friendly fire. So some of the Zealots there are taking a bit of a beating as well. That Phoenix from earlier coming in clutch. We have some Lurkers at the front. A couple Lurkers in the main base, too. Crisis management, though, has been excellent by ShoWTimE. Even though I didn't see this coming in, he still dealt with that just fine. Okay. So that was actually not that great there for the Zerg player at all. Yeah, 9 Lurkers go down. For what? Couple Zealots? Couple Zealots, maybe some lost mining time, few probes. That's a lot of gas. Now, luckily, Zerg has been mining a lot of gas as well, so he's going to be able to add on 10 more of those bad boys, bringing the total up to 17. ShoWTimE is gonna try and go into this, Fleet Beacon and the second Stargate right now. He's even doing the upgrades over here at the front for armor too, but this is still a little while away from being a proper Skytles army, and this is an awful lot of lurkers. If Solar can get him into the right position, like if he walks into that, okay, I was gonna say, if he walks into the stasis ward, that would be a disaster. He's trying to go up towards the high ground. We need zoning storms. Lovely. Forcing the Zerg player to slow down its advance. The immortal count is at 9 right now. Or as ShoWTimE would say, 9! Actually, no, 9. It's, not quite. Anyways, Zealot run by as well. This is actually quite nice. Not that many Zerg units available right now at home. Well, we have a bit of a sky or a ground toss flank. And the lurkers are gonna have to run. Lurkers running away from a ground army is something we rarely see. Yeah, he needs to be careful. In a choke point, those Protoss units don't mess around, but when they're all spread out like that, it's pretty great. Another Nexus building all the way at the top of the map. Another Zealot warp inside of the main base of the Zerg. Tempest coming up. Okay. He can't currently make more than 1 Tempest at a time because he's maxed out. Finally, a little bit of a victory right there for Solar. His Spire in the main base is being targeted by Zealots. Will he be able to keep this one around? Nope. Okay. 3 Tempests though. Coming up. Ooh, a couple of the lurkers do get caught off guard. There's a certain confidence in this Protoss army. ShoWTimE feeling really good here. Honestly, so far, the only real mistake has not been canceling that base and not seeing the lurker fly by. But I mean, those things are forgivable. We have 474 APM. Pretty much identical for both players. Now the Tempests do get scouted. Solar is not yet in an army where he can really counter Tempest that easily. Problem is, he just lost a Spire. And without a Spire, you can't make Corruptors. And without Corruptors, how do you kill Skytles? Well, you can still use Hydras. Vipers are a decent choice, but yeah, I fully agree with this. Solar restarting up the Spire, because in the long run, that is not an army. Hydra Lurker with Viper for support, it's not really an army that can kill Skytles. Now, this is only a couple of Skytles units, just 3 Tempest. But usually when there's smoke, there's fire. And there's always a chance that there will suddenly be a mass Skytles bowl. Great splits right here by the Zerg player, keeping enough units at home to defend, and then in the meantime also putting on some pressure on the other side of the map. This is not an easy group of lurkers to kill, right? Like, this is just the right amount to be annoying. You need to bring a dedicated Protoss army in. ShoWTimE so far struggling getting a 5th base going. So everything's been going really well up until this point in the game, but he's struggling with a 5th. Well, he's marched his army all the way from the far bottom left towards the top right-hand corner. And I guess that's one way to try and keep that base alive. The only thing I'm kind of missing here is a Mama ship. Looks like the Immortals once again found a great opportunity. Man, Lurker's not really doing anything in this game so far, in this entire series so far. They're just getting destroyed by the ground army. Zergling run by attempted, but plenty of static defense to slow down any real damage. Zergling run by up north, also defended really well right here by the German player. We have Corruptors coming up, sure. We have some good mining coming up here for Solar as well, sure. But I feel like strategically, this entire series has brought Solar nowhere. Every time, he's been 3 steps behind. In this match so far, a little bit less than his opponent, I guess. Maybe 2 steps behind, but behind nonetheless. Look at the resources lost. Actually insane. A lot of the professional Zergs have been saying over the last couple tournaments that this matchup is now in favor of Protoss. And yet we don't really see Protoss winning tournaments, right? I guess Serral doesn't really lose to anybody other than Clem. Here we go. Solar moving in. This is an opportunity maybe where Solar can get some damage done. Nice abductions there. Gets a couple of the Tempest. Okay. Finally, Solar strikes back. Yeah, it is interesting, though, because if you look at these games over here, ShoWTimE is looking exceptionally dominant. Just not even really sure what Solar can do here. Well, his best bet is to play the Swarm, right? Try to build up a big economy. Maybe go up towards Brute Lords eventually, too. I wouldn't hate that. Look at this little squad of units. This is gonna kill bases real fast. Yeah, this is... +3 ground tools, does not mess around. He needs to be careful, though, because that's an expensive set of units to lose. Can we maybe recall? I don't know if I fully agree with this. Yes, he kills the expansion, but he's also gonna lose a ton of troops in the process. The Immortals are, funnily enough, not as important anymore at this point in time. There is this moment where you kind of want to transition away from them too. And actually, ShoWTimE is taking one of the expansions that is normally considered to be the Zergs, and he's double expanding right now. The idea being that if he loses one, well, he could still keep the other one around. Solar has got this army right now that's kind of funky. We have 14 Corruptors and 6 Hydras, and then a bunch of Lurkers and stuff, but like, none of it is really flowing very well together. I think that's maybe the reason why ShoWTimE is doing this. Getting up the extra upgrades. Another gateway will be finishing up. 2 more inside of the main base. As long as it's an even number, that's all good. Because of the Corruptor count, though, it's difficult here for ShoWTimE to really go in and build a ton of Skytles. Now, what he wants to do is kill those Lurkers from a distance, but it does take a long time. Again, we have a split push here. Protoss normally tends to ball their units up together. But these counterattacks, yeah. The counterattacks are really good. Yes, he's going to be able to kill this expansion. He will be losing one at home as well, it looks like. But I don't really mind this. I mean, maybe this Nexus can even live. That's only 3 Hydras, and Hydra DPS is kind of trash. Yeah, he's going to actually keep the Nexus. I don't think he's even really planned on that. I'm pretty sure this Nexus was never supposed to live. It's mostly just a bait. Yeah, get some nice storms, kill a couple Corruptors. Okay. The Hydra somehow, some way finished the job. Seconds before missiles attack level 3 finishes up. Okay. Again, look at the split. I really like the split here, actually, from ShoWTimE. I'm a little afraid that at some point we're going to see one of these armies get absolutely swarmed. But as long as he can run back to the safety of the base, and as long as he can actually take decent fights here, good feedback, lovely feedback, really nicely done here by ShoWTimE. As long as he doesn't get surrounded and accidentally pulled in the direction that he can't hold on to. Look at him, he's taking another base. He's taking both of these Nexi. This is not the way this matchup is quote-unquote meant to be played. Normally it's the Zerg player trying to swarm the Protoss, but now it's the Protoss trying to swarm the Zerg. A little bit of an overextension here, though, by ShoWTimE. You could call it an overextension. You could also call it another opportunity to make new units. He is the Swarm, after all. This Nexus is not gonna live for much longer, it seems. But that's okay. ShoWTimE actually has the other one on the other side of the map. Oh, Probes body blocking. Oh god, they actually get the kill together. Well, you know, the Photon Cannon did okay too, but it doesn't have the confirmed kill. See? Kills 0. It was one of the probes. Which one was it? Which one of you badasses got the final hit? Was it the Zealot? No, I think it's this guy, right over here. Another Lurker caught over here. Corruptors, those do swoop in, and they try to kill those Tempest. We have one Overlord Cocoon coming up over here on the right side of the map. Solar trying to see if he can maybe get the mobility advantage now, right? So he may not have the strongest army, but if the Protoss is this split up, maybe you can just outpace them by splitting up your units yourself. Mama ship coming up. I like the Mama ship here. Push over here on the right side of the map. Somehow ShoWTimE seems to have the really large army counts here. He still has 77 drones though, or 77 probes. Somehow his army looks huge. Looks like this Nexus will be forced to be given up on, but at the same time Solar lost one of his hatcheries. I think that's a trade that ShoWTimE will make any day of the week at this stage in the game. Little lurker drop here in the bottom right, or on the right side rather here of ShoWTimE's bases. We do have an observer nearby. I think he can easily counter this. Here's the Corruptors once again swooping in though. Do we still have a Storm available? We do not. That's gonna make life a little bit more difficult, but he backs up to the safety of the static defense. Lurker army forced to retreat. Immortals back on the production tab. Okay. We have enough energy for storms again? Well, in a couple seconds we do, if we don't already on at least one of them. That's gonna make life a lot easier for the base defense. Hydra Corruptor is a banger of a unit composition, of course. Solar did kill 18 probes, but he's gonna be forced to back off now. I agree with that. I don't think he can really get much more. It works only if Protoss is out of position, and so far that's not the case. His best threat right now is to try and bleed the Protoss player out. So if he can mine out this base, ShoWTimE is gonna have money for like the next 10 minutes or so. I don't think there's a whole lot Solar can do about that. But maybe Solar can defend the Protoss here from taking another base. Can pretend, or prevent it rather. I think we take a hatchery over here, Solar. He's a little afraid though. Raider Spire coming up. Now suddenly the Protoss units have joined together. And we have more of a standard way that Protoss usually maneuvers around the map. But notice how ShoWTimE has kept his army split up for really like the last 15 minutes or so. Never really keeping it in one big ball. And again, look. The army is being split. Not straight down the middle. This is not an even marriage. We're just boxing whatever units need to go where. Just making sure there's some Templar in each army. The Skytles units, though, apparently also get to stick together. Oh. Apparently, though, the ground units do get the addition of the Mama ship. Okay, Corruptors going around the side, but already ShoWTimE predicting this movement. It's kind of refreshing to see all the spellcasters and units in the right position and the mothership not immediately getting abducted because everything is flowing the way that it's supposed to be. Like, we very frequently see very sloppy mistakes from Protoss, even at the highest level. So far, I haven't spotted too many from ShoWTimE. Lovely work. That German efficiency, you know? Not like Deutsche Bahn efficiency, but like actual efficiency. We do see many Deutsche Bahn moments, though. From most of the Protoss players out there. So far, not the case for ShoWTimE. Ooh, very grouped up Corruptors here. That is a storm target and a half. Another Nexus has been secured. Another hatchery coming up. Double expanding here for Solar. At this point, though, Solar's bank is looking kind of eh. And his army is also looking kind of eh. He's got a greater spire, sure, but I'm not loving it. This is a good army, but I've got a feeling we can see this army getting wiped off the map. Protoss army once again split up. Every time Solar comes running to defend at home, ShoWTimE goes running again. And usually that seems to create an opportunity for the other half of the army to move in. Solar has had enough. He's decided to go for a big attack of his own. And immediately, ShoWTimE goes for the offense. He sees this unit composition. He's like, I don't care. It's a ballsy play, though. He wants to kill a couple expansions on the other side of the map. And even though he's going to lose a base over here, this is a base that isn't even really mining. This Zerg infestation, though, is going to have to be addressed. Lurkers going around the site. Photon cannons buying an awful lot of time. We do have the other half of the army now showing up to try and keep as much of this around as possible. In the meantime, a hatchery has been killed already. Mothership still hanging out on the right side of the map, not really doing much. She's taking a little bit of a tea break. Nexus over here in some trouble, but at the same time, the newly acquired base, and really the only base that Solar currently has, is being killed as well. These other expansions are no longer mining. Corruptors swoop in, nice abduction there by the Zerg, but he does take a bit of damage too from those storms. Okay. Very nice movement here by ShoWTimE. Solar is actually just dead broke. He takes the base! Oh, he takes the base that Solar has been mining for, well, probably like 8 or 9 minutes in this game. Yeah, it's probably the easiest one. Oh, that was sprinkling salt in the wound, because upon seeing it, Solar realizes that there is no way to contest this anymore. And look at the amount of money still left over for ShoWTimE at this point in time. Utter domination by ShoWTimE in this series. 3-0 win over Solar is very impressive.